Every so often, a game comes out that I become obsessed with. That means whenever I'm at home, I'm playing it. Whenever I'm not playing it, I'm watching videos about it. And when I can't do either of those, I'm thinking about it constantly. Sadly, the older I get, the less often this kind of thing happens. Thankfully, I am being given the pleasure of this feeling right now because of a little indie game called Sifu. Sifu is the newest game to come from French studio Sloclap, and it's all about kung fu, man. What at first looks like a Kill Bill-like tale of revenge evolves into an experience about mastery through practice and the true meaning of kung fu. But that's just speaking on a narrative level. What I really love about the game is its unique approach to combat, difficulty, and the roguelike genre entirely. It's a game that's not afraid to push you, but that's only because Sifu wants you to unlock your full potential and see how good you can really get at this game. So sit on your feet, take a deep breath, and let me tell you how to achieve enlightenment by unlocking your inner angry kung fu man. The game begins with you as a small child getting your father killed right in front of you by a group of 5 bosses. You grow up to become an angry kung fu man who seeks revenge while also seeking answers. Each of the game's 5 levels gives you a little bit of insight into what is really going on and why your father was murdered 8 years ago. The game loop itself reminds me of Max Payne 3 a little bit. You have these mostly linear levels with optional pieces of evidence that you can collect, like photos, letters, and even keys to doors, which encourage you to revisit past levels of the game and open previously inaccessible areas for more bits and pieces of the big picture. Or they are keys to shortcuts, which save you time on future playthroughs, which you'll have plenty of because you're probably going to lose a lot. But this isn't nearly as bad as it sounds thanks to the game's most unique feature, the way it handles losing. Whenever an opponent kills you, you come back to life, but your age accelerates. The more you die in a row, the more each death makes you age until you literally can't go on anymore because you die of old age. I love this mechanic. Something that Souls-like games have started to figure out lately is that people get bummed out when they have to run back to their body from the last checkpoint to try the boss fight again. It kills your momentum and makes the process of learning how to beat whatever take longer. With Sifu's death mechanic, you get a lot of tries in a row to really figure out what the game is trying to teach you with each particular boss. It might not make it any less frustrating when a boss kills you 9 times in a row in 2 minutes, but I think it makes the learning process quicker. I hate to admit it, but the narrative for me was one of those scenarios where the journey is much better than the destination. Each of the game's endings are kinda in my opinion. But it's not about the ending. There are so many moments along the way where you are walking into amazing set pieces, like an obvious reference to Old Boy, and an even more obvious reference to the fight in the snow with Orin and Kill Bill. I believe the game's unique approach to narrative exposition is one of its real strengths, though. Finding out things like why each of the 5 bosses were motivated to forge an alliance to kill your father, or why a certain boss fights a certain way, gave me those little moments where it clicks. The voice acting does leave a lot to be desired, though.
I thought you said they'd put up a fight. I'm barely breaking a sweat.
For whom does the bell toll?
If I could change the language to Cantonese, or quite frankly, anything I couldn't understand, I think I would have got a lot more invested in the talking parts. But there's really not a lot of talking in this game to begin with, so it's really easy for me to overlook that. A lot of those big moments were the main character's descriptions of the clues in the pause menu. It's not what the game is flat out telling you, it's reading the writing on the walls and putting clues together yourself that I really enjoyed. That being said, less is not always more. These endings needed way more in my opinion. It felt like riding a roller coaster and clicking your way up a big ramp to the big drop, only to find out this roller coaster is actually an elevator. Despite Sifu only being Sloclap's second game, They are a studio already known for their sharp gameplay and intense combat that rivals the highs of other greats in the genre like Dark Souls. In my opinion, Dark Souls is to Sekiro as Absolver is to Sifu. Some may see that statement as an oversimplification, but let me try to explain. For those who don't know, Absolver was Sloclap's first game. Dark Souls and Absolver were huge hits that introduced unique approaches to combat with a lot of different choices. In Dark Souls' case, weapons, armor, magic, etc. were all your choice, while Absolver had a very customizable hand-to-hand combat system. They were both single-player experiences with PvP overtones, though PvP in Absolver was a much bigger focus than it was in Dark Souls. And then you have Sekiro and Sifu, which are the more focused yet simplified approach designed to appeal to a larger audience. Player choice is much more restricted, making it more like you are becoming a character, not creating one, which is why Sekiro and Sifu needed more of a focus on narrative than Dark Souls and Absolver. I've always preferred this approach myself, but it does not always work. For instance, Deathloop was Arcane Studios' attempt to make a game less niche than Dishonored to attract a larger audience, which it did, but it got more flack for what it lost in that oversimplification than Sekiro or Sifu did. One of the biggest challenges game developers face today is eliminating the feeling of losing. That's because losing is what makes a player stop playing a game, right? It's the reason Mario Odyssey got rid of lives along with most games these days. But in the wake of this environment where the player must lose as little as possible, it takes a game with truly sharp gameplay to bake losing into its game design and use it as a teaching tool. If Sifu was easier to complete than it was the first time I played it, I really doubt I would have had nearly as much fun. Although, that's exactly what Sloclap is doing, even after spending a lot of time talking about how much they balanced the difficulty before release. And on February 11th, the developer confirmed they will be adding more difficulty settings and accessibility options. Now, the last thing I want to do is sound like the guy that's like, psh, you think Dark Souls is hard? Try playing Demon Souls. That's for real gamers. But I do worry about how they're going to do the easier difficulties justice without worsening the experience in the process, kinda like Deathloop. Even after getting all the game's endings in the Platinum Trophy, I am still firing this game up and seeing how much better I can do a run. The last thing I want to hear is someone tell me they finished Sifu and didn't see what the big deal was if, for example, they never have to learn how to dodge low attacks on the Sean fight. The game is really all about reading telegraphed moves. I'm not becoming a more skilled, angry kung fu man the more I play this game. I'm just learning to read the telegraphs better through memorization, which is exactly why the game's aging each death mechanic is brilliant for the roguelike genre. It strongly alleviates the feeling of losing without throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Sifu offers a punishingly tight yet fair experience. Pulling off a bunch of sick counters and parries in a row to clear a room of 10 thugs feels way more satisfying when you know it only takes one hit from a bat to get knocked on your back and open for an instant kill from the enemy. Your opponents fight very intelligently and usually don't fall for the same trick twice. That's why you have to fight even smarter. In the end, you realize it's not about being an angry kung fu man. It's about being an enlightened and calm kung fu man, refusing to lose your cool and not killing anyone because that would be against the teachings of voodoo, which your father...
kept for themselves but belongs to the people.
You know what? Never mind. That wasn't very voodoo. Oh well. Thank you guys so much for watching my review of Sifu. I'm absolutely in love with this game, and I've actually been streaming my runs on Twitch. I'm trying to get to where I can do a no death run. I've gotten it down to like 2 deaths, and then eventually I want to start trying to maybe speedrun it. I don't know, probably not. I think Elden Ring is gonna get in the way of that. But anyway, Thanks for getting this far along. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you in the next one. Smell you later.